thank you for coming along. And what we're going to try and do today is do some readings that celebrate summer and summer solstice in this crazy heat. So I'm going to kick off, we'll get straight into it. I'm just going to read a short extract from my novel Who Do You Love? And this was the prompting for actually this whole day, actually, as it turns out, because I suggested to David doing a reading from this book, and then other people kind of joined in. I'll explain a bit later. And it is for me a very important day in my life, because in 1987, on the summer solstice, this is sort of a loosely fictionalised version of what happened to me. I put on a student play, and I took too many sort of magic mushrooms, as you'll see, and had a kind of bit of a crazy time of it, and then sort of connected with someone who became very important in my life, and who subsequently died a few years ago. And the novel is about trying to reclaim a memory of her, and yeah, and it felt a really important piece of thing to write for me. And I worked with Blake Morrison in the English and Comparative Literature department to do the PhD, and this is part of my PhD work, and Blake was amazing helping me on it. And the extract I'm going to read is quite early on in the novel, set in 1980. Let the siren pass. Set in 90. Do come in if you want to. Just getting on with the readings. Take a seat. Yeah. It's set in 1987. The context of this is in 1986. There was a really terrible hurricane that hit Britain and knocked down loads of trees. And I was at Sussex University, and I decided to put on a play that celebrated trees and also talked about the horror of that hurricane. It was a kind of typical teenage-y, student-y production. We had a guy who wore a 3-foot penis hat in foam, who represented patriarchy, which was raping the land, and we had nature dressed up as a kind of painted doll who didn't know her true nature, but then discovers it because she meets a tree spirit. And it was just a kind of crazy sort of play we put on. I had hair down to my waist, and I just had probably a bit different from what I am now. And so put on this play. We did a lot of rehearsals in the woods for it during the summer, and we put posters around. Obviously it's pre-Facebook or anything like that, and we didn't know how many people would turn up on the summer solstice this time that many years ago. Around about midnight, and the extract I'm going to read is what happened when we took the people from the Sussex University campus, met them just before midnight, and took them up into the woods to put the play on. Okay, so I'll read that extract, and then I will be done for my little extract. The plan was that I would wait for the audience to arrive at the refectory, while the actors went on ahead to the clearing. They streamed out up the hill, a ragtag parade. But would we have an audience? I didn't have to worry long. Do come in, welcome. I'm just reading, we're getting on with the crazy. Take a seat, sit down. Thank you, I love, the Garlic Man Parade. I'm just reading about my own parade that I had in 1987, okay? Yeah, so it's set in 1987. It's kind of based on true events, taking people up the hill into the Sussex woods. But would I have an audience? I didn't have to worry long. There was a trickle in the first few minutes as I stood there waiting anxiously. But then there was a flood, a crowd of nearly 200 students. I was like the captain of some wild army. People I didn't even know slapped me on the back, high-fived me, following me in the dark. A few people had brought large torches, and they assisted me in leading everyone by shining them into the air. Soon we were on our way, tramping through the campus and into the fields towards the woods. We gathered more people as we processed through Park Slope. While I didn't know most of the crowd, there was a knot of students I was familiar with. Cool dude slackers with spliffs hanging out their mouths and bottles of wine in their hands. Some organised students had brought picnic baskets and rugs, intending to make a night of it. A few knew about the work I'd put into the play and freely offered me puffs on their joints and slugs of their poison. Luke, one of the actors, now dressed in his spooky tree spirit costume and looking like an eldritch warrior, approached me secretly and whispered that I should eat a dollop of the honeyed magic mushrooms that he'd brought from home. I knew about this jar. It was paranormal. I'd had one of the most amazing nights when I tripped out on its contents a few months back. We talked about it afterwards, how it'd be great to try the mushrooms in a natural environment, and speculated the night of a play would be a good occasion, although we hadn't made any promises. I ate 3 or 4 spoonfuls of the blackened chopped mushroom honey. It was disgusting, but a gulp of wine helped it down my throat. Emboldened by the alcohol, but not feeling the effects of the mushrooms, I shouted for some order. This had the result of making my actors ready themselves behind a tree stump, but didn't stop the chatter emanating from the audience. But then Arnholm, who's the composer of the play, composer of the music, struck decisively on his drums. Do come in, Jim. The rabble fell silent. There was a moment when everyone could hear the noises of the wood, the rustlings, the hoots, the distant howls, and then I spoke. Welcome to the Song of the Falling Trees, my mime play about the devastation of the 1987 hurricane. We are gathered here on this summer solstice to pay homage to Mother Earth and curse all those who would destroy her. There was a burst of applause. Arnold waved his arms about, and just then Alida, who's the kind of girlfriend figure, not yet though quite, gave out a low note, guttural and throbbing, and a fast rising scale before the rest of the band joined in. The music was modern, jagged, edgy, making hairs stand up on the back of my neck. The play began in the flickering light, with drums beats rising out of the falling tree. Luke looked sinister and bucolic as a tree spirit, jumping this way and that through the undergrowth. The painted doll, announced by the clarinet, flitted into view, forcing the tree spirit's retreat. She was pursued by George, wearing the 3-foot penis hat and carrying a large suitcase. The bassoon rumbled ominously as the ogre entered. Alida's playing was compelling. The audience was agog as the bassoon's rumble developed into a loud, menacing melody. The ogre dropped his suitcase and raped the painted doll. George stood over with his hat strapped to his groin, grunting and growling as he thrust the helmet into the iridescent air in time to the stabbing notes of Alida's bassoon. You really felt the doll had been violated. The rape scene no longer seemed metaphorical. It was an act of palpable violence when combined with Alida's accompaniment. After this cruelty, the tree spirit surfaced and performed a medicinal dance accompanied by drums around the doll. Brought to life again by the clarinet, she shed her doll clothes to reveal a female tree spirit underneath. There was an audible intake of breath from the crowd when the ogre and Alida's melody returned. He was distressed to see that all that remained of the painted doll was her mask and dress. However, when the ogre discovered that the tree spirit had turned his amour into a kindred fairy of the wood, he chased after the tree spirit and beat him up savagely. The bassoon thumped its notes out wildly. Some of the audience booed at this point, but roared in approbation and laughter when the transformed doll stole his hat. They clapped when they saw the giant wilt to the ground, stripped of its power. He crawled away miserably, the bassoon's melody withering with him, leaving behind the suitcase. I could feel the audience wanted to cheer at this point, believing it to be the end of the play, but their hands remained in their laps as they watched the tree spirits open the trunk. The bassoon joined forces with the drums and clarinets and swelled into a ferocious hurricane as the spirits were whirled around the stage like leaves in a storm. Luke and Lucy's dance was frenetic as they were battered down by the hurricane and left for dead. Lucy was brilliant as a painted doll. She was so delicate and refined at the beginning and so traumatised when she was raped by George. But George and Luke excelled themselves too. George was genuinely threatening as the ogre, exuding comedic menace throughout. The part when he's robbed of his hat and he drooped away was priceless. And Luke held everything together, dancing like Puck through each scene. However, the mime wouldn't have had its emotional punch without the music and the leader's passionate playing. The end of the play was greeted with silence and then applause. Exhilarated by his efforts, George walked onto the stage and expostulated about the true meaning behind the symbolism, explaining this was a feminist play which explored how patriarchy was destroying our ecology. I joined him, shouting over the crowd. We must have been chuntering on too much because Luke dragged us both off the stage. He shouted that we should all build a fire in the clearing and have a ceremony in which the costumes, and most particularly the hat, was burnt. I glanced at George in the flickering light. This was news to me and him. Luke hadn't said anything earlier about burning the hat before. I wondered if George would be upset. I wouldn't have wanted my hat burnt, especially after all the trauma he'd gone through to wear it, because he had to put chicken wire in that thing. But he didn't seem bothered at all. He took it off and chucked it into the middle of the stage. The sight of the hat flying through the lantern-lit air was greeted with hysteria. The crowd invaded the stage space. Kindling and wood were hurled into the clearing, and soon a large fire was crackling and nearly everyone was gathered round the flames. A few people rushed back to the campus to get provisions, returning later with more alcohol and various musical instruments, castanets, maracas, guitars and African drums. Arnholm jammed with them, playing along as best he could with the chaotic ensemble, but Alida didn't. I wanted to say how amazing I thought she was, but I couldn't find her anywhere. I wandered into the crowd, hoping to be praised, but everyone was immersed in their own thing. Couples were snogging in the shadowy recesses, lads were playing cards and games like Pass the Pigs, and the musicians had splintered off into separate groups. I felt lonely. I didn't have a girlfriend, and I was no good at jamming. My mother, who taught me piano, always said I had a very poor sense of rhythm, and I believed her. I wandered through the woods looking for a leader. The mushrooms were finally working their magic. In the darkness between those trees, with the firelight lambent behind me, I felt as if I was stepping through a door into another world, where the trees were people and the branches were limbs and the leaves had mouths. "Nick, I need a word with you, sunshine," the voice said. The word sunshine turned my stomach. Was that my mother and my stepfather dubbed me this when they punished me? The voice went on. "You're a very selfish boy. You're quite despicable. What you do truly disgusts me. We know what you do in your bedroom. I have to clean the stains off your underpants. Remember that time when you tried to throw your underpants in the rubbish bin and I found them? You can never escape from me. Do you know that?" I started trying to run through the wood, trying to escape. My chest was burning and I was sweating. I fell over, unable to walk straight. Voices echoed through my head, fragmented, inchoate at first, but then congealing into a clear tune. Pilky and his handbag, Pilky and his handbag. The melted faces of schoolboys pounced at me, chanting, "Pilky and his handbag." I tripped over the roots of trees. Fortunately, I managed to extricate my feet from them and found sanctuary behind a dark stump, which was like the bottom of a stair. I thought I was safe. Twigs snapped, doors slammed, the voice of a child shouted, "Mummy, Mummy, don't go, Mummy, don't!" "Hal?" I inquired, wondering if it was my brother. "Hal, are you there?" My heart was sandwiched between two metal sheets attached by some fiendishly complicated means to a lever in my groin. In order to get it to beat, I had to pull the lever and keep the metal sheets banging together so that my heart would continue pumping. A voice filtered through the pain. Nick, it's okay, you are a bird. You can fly away from it all. Just remember, you can have wings and fly away from the pain." And amazingly, an image of a bird came into my mind and I felt myself lifting away from the darkness up into the night. And soon I was high above my own body and I looked like a disused factory, but I could see my heart still there. When I woke, my head was in someone's lap and there was a cup of water being put to my lips. Are you okay, Nick? That's it.